Parker in the mid-50s. It was never made navigable, but it has been part of his vision, and why the canal is even part of this property was the same reason that his vision was to offer access to the sandy white beach. And that's why there's a dedicated beach from 8th Street to the county line. He wanted people in our city to have access, no matter where you live, that you had access not only to the sand, but you had access to the Gulf of Mexico. So, with that said, all of this that you're looking at has been here before all of us. And this property is entitled to the same city amenities that all of us enjoy. They're entitled to water, sewer, sanitation, fire, police, parks and recs, canal, and public roads. So today the workshop is for the developer to show us the ingress and egress of what is now known as Sweetwater. So we'll start the workshop by letting the developer he's got a presentation, and we will let that go forth, and then from there we'll stop and do some talking about some of your concerns or what you might want to discuss. So, Richard, are you?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'll start.
You start?
I'll introduce the
okay, if you would,
yes,
just sort of informally introduce yourself. You can stand where you
I'll
want.
stand right here.
That would be great.
Thank you all very much and appreciate that introduction. Some history I didn't know about, so I definitely appreciate that, Mayor. Thank you very much. My name is Richard Ferry. We're with Brent Holdings, which is a land development company out of Atlanta. And we started looking at this property back in 2018. We put it under contract. Obviously, you know the history that occurred since then, and we've been working diligently to get a preliminary plat. And as the mayor said, we got that in July of 2021 on this property. We purchased it and closed it shortly thereafter, and have just been working with the city trying to get to answer some of the questions that we're really going to talk about a lot tonight, which is what is the best layout for the development as well as the city. What I want to, I know that we've been here many times, and really kind of the face of the project has been Frank James. He's with our development team, and our engineer is Sean Shanks, and he's with Moore Bass, who's been in this. One of the principals of Moore Bass has been in the city for years and years and has a helm here. So the owner of our company has been a part of going from Apalachicola all the way over to Panama City through his entire life. Grew up here, and when he saw this property come available, he piqued interest. And even though there were a lot of things that happened along the way, he did not stop. He said, "You're gonna keep on going. We're gonna keep on going. We're gonna fulfill our promise and our discussion that we had with the mayor all the way back to 2018. We're gonna do a project here on this piece of property." So he's real excited about it. I think the most significant change that occurred to us is when we look at the canal that sweeps around the entire property. When we first did the preliminary plat, the initial review of the flushing of that canal, which is the water that goes in and out of it, was that it flushed. We found out after we got into more detail and had to actually go into the real engineering of that the northern part of the canal flushed, and then as we made our way down the eastern side, it did not flush. So we had to redo all of these drawings in there to make it so the whole thing flushed. And so I'm not going to get a lot into the development of what we're doing and what that all lays out as, but our goal here was to get a project that, number one, is appealing to the city, is beneficial to the city, and then meets obviously the zoning requirements of the city, but also is something that is going to be attractive and an asset to the city. And I'll let Sean take it over now and talk about the plan and really focus on what the goal of this workshop is, which is the access and egress side of the property. Go ahead, Sean.
Thank you. So what I have up on the screen is our land use allocation map. Hopefully each of you has a copy. What we're going to do is we're going to start in the northwest corner, which will be the upper left-hand corner, work our way counterclockwise, and just kind of do a little brief summary of each of our proposed connections. The first connection we'll talk about is the 36th Street connection. This has been in place from the very first submittal we did. We've had lots along the northern side of the canal. We've had a 36th Street connection. It came out at a different, slightly different location. And during our first public meeting, we had some input from some residences concerned about a tree, an oak tree that's near our northwest corner, and then a family that lived on the corner of 36th and that side street. I think it's labeled 36, but that's incorrect. Anyway, he was concerned about headlights shining into his windows. So what we did is we basically bent the street a little bit sooner so it connects more in the midpoint of our 36th Street frontage to where you see it today, and it's kind of been in that configuration ever since. A couple of just about every meeting we've had, someone has shown up from the 36th Street corridor, if you will, representing the homeowners concerned about the number of cars that would be added to 36th Street. And then also we've heard concerns about the lack of a pedestrian path along 36th Street, because if we're adding cars, that's going to make it more dangerous for folks that don't have a path to walk. So one of the things we did is we add this southern connection. So folks that live on the northern side or the eastern side of the canal now have an option. They can either go 36th or go through our Parker Park connection, which we'll talk about later, but that gives you a direct connection to 98. The other thing that's been added is that we will have I don't know if it'll be a joint venture or developer provided, but a sidewalk will be constructed along 36th Street as part of this project. There's some challenges with that. We're not sure which side of the street it will be on, but it will most likely be within the public right-of-way, and then we have to figure out how we cross the canal and navigate the bridge if it's a separate pedestrian bridge or what have you. Those are details that haven't been worked out yet. But hopefully that has addressed some of the concerns with 36th Street and the volume and the pedestrian safety. The next one is 31st Street. And what we've done is we've created more of a blow up of these connections. So 31st Street is an existing two-way street that terminates at the project boundary as a two-way street. Our proposal is to extend 31st Street into the project. It will remain a two-way street. There will not be a stop condition or a yield or anything like that. It will just be continued into the project site. And it will work in conjunction with 30th Street. So 30th Street currently is a one-way street at Highway 98. And then when you pass the hardware store and get to the alleyway, it switches to a two-way street, and then it terminates at the project site as a two-way street. Our proposal is to make this a one-way only entrance. So if you're turning off of 98 onto 30th Street, you will enter the site where it terminates at the project boundary, and it will be a one-way only. There will not be any traffic from the development that exits the site along 30th Street. We're doing this even though 30th is a two-way street between the alleyway and our project site, any cars that come out of 30th will have to make that plus 90-degree turn into the alleyway, and we don't want to force them to do that. And then also, if they happen to get past that stop sign and end up going the wrong way on 30th, then that could cause issues that we understand are happening even today. We have added a connection to 29th Street. 29th Street, just like 30th and 31st, is a two-way street that terminates at the project boundary. So the 29th Street connection will be an extension. There won't be a stop condition or yield condition. And so the way these three streets are going to work together is 29th will be we will only have residential traffic on 29th Street. 30th Street will be the main entrance for commercial traffic, and then 31st Street will be an alternate entrance for commercial traffic, but will be the main exit point for commercial traffic. So signage, striping, word of mouth, all of these things will be in place to limit 29th Street to a residential only. 30th and 31st will be the designated commercial access points. Our final connection point is at what we're calling Parker Park Street. We may need to get a little more creative with the naming. I think there's a Parker Parkway that exists around the corner. So we were approached by the city as a potential alternate access. We were looking at coming through 26, 27, or even 28, and they suggested potential of coming through the Parker Park driveway. And so what this proposal is for a 50-foot right-of-way on a public street that will connect to Highway 98 and run into the project site and serve the lots along the eastern and northern sides of the canal. It will also provide a connection to Parker Park that was shown here. And so to provide a little bit more detail on what will happen. So this is a rendering of what that street could potentially look like. Down here on the left-hand side is Highway 98. This is the proposed connection. You would come in, you would enter with a divided median, kind of a landscape island that could serve as signage for the development, signage for Parker Park. It will run through the proposed driveway into Parker Park. There's nothing magic about this location. It could be anywhere along this frontage. And then here's the canal and a new bridge that will cross the canal and enter into the project site. So in order to make this work, right now there's a this is the current state of the Parker Park access. As you can see, there's a guardrail on one side with some landscape timbers to protect pedestrian traffic and vehicular traffic from the canal. The driveway is within 1 or 2 feet of the fence line that runs at or near the existing property line for the parcels that front 26th Street. So this revised Parker Park Street will look like this is just a different viewpoint of the rendering I showed earlier. So you can see that you've got a public street with a divided median up front. This pulls the pavement and travel lanes away from the properties that front 26th Street. You've got a landscape strip along the eastern side that separates the vehicular traffic from the pedestrian traffic, and then you've got a multi-use pedestrian bike path that allows residents from the development, patrons from the park, all to use the sidewalk to access the sidewalk in 98 and ultimately find one of the pedestrian crossings across 98. Now, in order to make, I showed you the slide earlier with the guardrail. In order to make this work, we are proposing a filling in of this leg of the canal that wraps around the front of Parker Park. So currently there's a dead end portion of the canal that wraps around the front of Parker Park, in between Parker Park and Highway 98. This is a stagnant, shallow portion of canal that, in conjunction with what Richard said earlier about the canal flushing, it doesn't meet the state water quality requirements. So we have met with the state about the possibility of filling this in. The dirt for the project will be sourced from the Sweetwater project. The canal, that surface will be brought up to the same elevation as the existing park, and it will actually expand the park about 50 to 60%. We estimate that the park currently has about 1.8 to 1.9 acres of usable land, so land that's outside the canal, outside the slope leading to the canal. And this will add almost an acre of land to the park itself. But by eliminating that grade change between the road and the canal, we've eliminated the need for guardrails, for landscape barriers, and made room for a public street, public sidewalk that will provide access to the development and to Parker Park. I believe I've covered all of the entrances. Do you want to turn it back over to you guys?
Okay, you're through?
Yes, sir.
For right now? Okay. All right, we're going to open this up again. This does not come to the podium. You can just stand where you are. You can ask a question, or, you know, ask it of us, ask it of the developer, ask it about what you've seen here. Floor's open. Yes, sir.
Gary Woodham, I live on North 38th Street, which is where your top, you don't have to go on there. There we are right there. And we've got a new bridge, as all y'all are aware of. The only problem is, weight-wise, it wouldn't be a problem for the large amount of traffic we're fixing to put on there. But I think if you check, and I'm sure y'all have checked with the state, the traffic flow, the amount of vehicles takes a toll on the bridge, just like weight does. That bridge right now, if you go look at it, is already starting to have problems. I don't know whether y'all realize that or not, but I walk it every day. And there are problems right there that the state's gonna have to address. You're going to have to put a red light on 36th Street like that at 98. There's no way that all the traffic coming out there right now, we've been using the boat ramp road due to what's going on over there. And just with that little bit of traffic coming out of there, sometimes traffic backs all the way up past the bridge. You can imagine what it's going to be like with all this traffic coming down here. So that's something y'all will have to consider. I'm not trying to tell y'all not to build the place. I'm all for that. I just want to make our community a safe, viable way. And I don't want to have to spend an extra 30 or 40 minutes going to Panama City waiting in traffic up here to get out. If I try to go to Park, that's a lot of homes up there. Let's just say that the homes up there, half of them go to 36 and half go out on Park. Well, in the summertime, you can just about triple or maybe quadruple that amount of traffic going to and from coming out of there. So y'all need to take that into consideration. All these people living on that canal don't have gas, they don't have boats. And these big boats coming out of there, I don't care what you think, I see it. You take a 40-foot boat on the dually and try to pull it out of there with these others out here, and there's a bunch of them that come in there. So these are things y'all need to take into consideration on the road on 36th Street. Somewhere it needs to be increased a little larger. Right now, even if you put a sidewalk on it, these big boats and these big trucks and cars that come out of there, somebody's gonna get killed in there. Now, that's the last thing I want to see is anybody getting hurt here in the city. So that's the problem I see with what you're gonna do. If y'all can correct that, I'm all for it. I think it would be a benefit to the city, and I really like what y'all are doing at Parker Park. That's something we talked about doing for years. Main thing is safety in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I don't agree with that part about Parker Park. We already own that. And all we're doing is giving a big advantage to a contractor from out of state. I mean, without that access to those lots all along that side there, I mean, that's cheap real estate there then. I mean, because you'd have to go all the way around to come back in. And if you looked at our park when we had the cook-off, my gosh, we had such a problem already with that. And then to add all this traffic in, just to get that front filled in, I'd rather see the city pay to fill it in ourselves. Because I don't want to be in business with a contractor out of Atlanta. It's just what I think.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Hi, Mike Piccolo, I live on Colorado. The developer talked about flushing the canal. No one's gonna come to a beach with brown water. When we get a lot of water, that runoff is going down the 8th Street Canal into our Gulf. Haven't had a lot of rain recently, but that's where all the water's going. 177 houses, that's a lot of runoff. I don't see one retention pond. And the state of Florida is already tracking Mexico Beach because of our lack of stormwater retention. The capital improvements for this development, are they going to come in top of the ones that are already existing? The ones we're anticipating right now that the city's going to do, like the flooding back in the 4th and 5th Street area? Is that going to happen before this happens? Or is ours going to be pushed further down the road so we get this? And then finally, the developers do a great job on the pictures, but execution? Come on, the exit for the gas station that we just put in, that wasn't done right. No exit lane to get off the 45 mile an hour. I'm sure people who do traffic figure that out. So if you go back to your picture at the Parker Park, there should be a turn lane for these boats to get off the road. The traffic is uncontrolled right now, and we are lucky that nothing's happened. And look at what the contract is doing right now on the current buildings that are being done. Roads are undone, roads are unfinished. The gas station, I don't think that's done right. Because you got people pulling out in traffic, pulling boats into 50 mile an hour. I don't know if that's done right, but you know what? A little 100-foot exit lane would have done great. How many wrecks have we had already? And you know what, as I look around, and I know a lot of people are running for re-election. Y'all put down what you want to do for us, but you never put down what you do right now. Real estate agents, no offense to anybody, building supply owners. Who is,
Okay,
sir, I'm talking.
No,
It's
you're
my
not,
turn.
yeah, no, sir, no, sir. If you want to address this project, that's what we're here to do.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
Oh, well, be careful,
Okay,
be careful.
there's nothing I need to be careful for. I haven't said anything.
All I'm
illegal.
saying is be respectful and talk to the project, not to
Yes,
your
sir.
opinions of those of us here, or just speak to the project. That's what we're doing.
Ramrodding the residential properties, especially with the market the way it is. When is it gonna get done? I don't know if anybody's gonna be mortgaged in these things. But anyway, we want things done in our neighborhoods. We want the roads done right. And Lord, I hope we don't get a stoplight. But it's coming. So, but if you look at what you've done since Michael, great stuff we're building. But the additional side of town, what is the percentage of growth that is? How many, is it a third bigger than Mexico Beach was,
No, it's not a third.
population wise?
No, I don't think it's
But
a
it'd be
third.
great to know what it is, because we're about to add another 20%. That's what so you're gonna grow in 5 years, the city, almost 40% of its existing size, with no capital improvements.
Well, that's simply incorrect, sir. We have the capital improvements.
There's ones that are planned.
Yeah, we have them in place. So, I mean, you're wrong about that.
There hasn't been many new things. It's all repairs to Michael.
No.
What's one new thing that we've gotten?
We have new sewer laterals, we have new water lines. We
For the
have
new
great
development,
infrastructure.
for the new development, yes, sir. But there are still parts of Mexico Beach that
Well,
still
that's-
require, the floodwater is one, sir. The floodwater is one.
The floodplain,
Yes, sir.
yes, we're working on that and have for, what, diligently
But
for a
where
year.
does it fall compared to this one? And our Mexico Beach resource is gonna be sent over there and not to here. So that's all I gotta say.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate your time and your comments. Anybody else?
Mayor, if I can speak to the stormwater.
Yeah,
portion.
okay, I was gonna ask you to do that, but
We met with the state, we do have to provide water quality, and we will do so, they have to approve it. Retention wise, we have a direct connection to the Gulf, we don't have to provide quote unquote retention. I think the volume we would be adding just by the canal expansion itself would be equivalent to a pond if we were to build a standalone. But water quality will be provided, and detention will be waived just because we have a direct connection.
Have you already did water quality analysis all the way up through there? And what impact the houses that are gonna be put there are gonna do? I mean, there could be kids up there swimming. And there's gonna be runoff from the houses going in, all the way down to the ocean.
And we will provide water quality per the state's requirements for every single drop
How
that
about
lands
the
on
city's
the property.
requirements?
I believe the city defers to the state.
yeah, the state handles that type of it.
It's funny though, not to interrupt, but when I called the state on this matter, they said Mexico Beach does it. So when I called and said, hey, why is there a front loader opening up the 8th Street Canal to dump into the Gulf? That's what the state said. Mexico Beach is in charge of that
Well,
water.
that's our back east, the east side of town, and we've done that for years.
Yes, sir.
We've done that for years. We wish we didn't have to do that, believe me.
That's part of the capital improvement that I'm looking for.
Well,
Well,
yes, sir, we have been too for 50 years. So, I mean, that brown water is,
Dredge all the way up there?
sir,
Will they have to dredge the canal all the way up to where these houses will have boats going in to the water?
well, that canal is on their private property, and they will be responsible for that canal.
But somebody will have to dredge.
It will be maintained to a depth of 5 feet for the full length of the canal.
And who will do this?
We will.
Forever and a day?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Homeowners Association.
The city does not accept ownership of the canal.
And Mr.
We
Mayor.
will the bridge if we give Parker Street
Okay.
away, right?
Is there anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Let's go to Parker Park for a moment. There's a bridge proposed across the canal. I find it excuse me, interesting that when this was first presented to the community, a number of citizens said, why can't you put bridges inside the development and contain most of the traffic that way? The answer was, there are no bridges considered, we don't have them in the plans, they are too expensive. Yet suddenly here we have a bridge over Parker Park that brings the traffic out into a city park. Now the plan showed the cutaway drawing of the entrance. We just 2 weeks ago approved improvements to Parker Park, $10,000 for something. We have the additional improvement of $75,000 being donated for the playground. We're rebuilding very expensive bathrooms. So we're sinking a couple of $100,000 worth of improvements into Parker Park, yet we are going to create a primary entrance to a very large development, the second largest in the city's history, next to the St. Joe property. And we're going to have those on this little bitty piece of land, because I believe you said there was 1.8 usable acres right now in Parker Park. You add almost another acre, so that's barely 3 acres. You're going to put this long entranceway that's going to have traffic for at least 36 houses coming and going. We're thinking improvements into the park. with that kind of traffic, especially during the summertime when those houses are gonna have buku people in them, it will render Parker Park very unusable for concerts. I don't wanna go to a concert and listen to traffic. You've got kids playing, you've got people in the park. That is not conducive to the use of a tiny park that's barely 3 acres. Now, that was originally a driveway for many, many years, a driveway, private driveway. Then the city got hold of the property and the driveway became the entrance to the park. Nowhere on any future land use maps was that ever indicated to become a major thoroughfare. So the people on 26th Street and the people on 98 facing the park never knew that the potential for this becoming a road was there. I would like to know from a realtor if putting a major road right there in front of the houses, in my opinion, that immediately drops the property values. You have to get a realtor to answer that question. So I don't see the benefit to the town of using the park as an entrance to a private development. Then, let's go to 31st Street. 31st Street is in the middle of our so-called shopping center. We're hoping that our shopping center rebounds. We've got 2 businesses in there now, Mangoes and Bracewells is about to open their new store they just built. We've got the hardware store there, so that's 3. This plan shows that you will split the shopping center with a 2-lane road to a major development, and you want to connect it to Highway 98. I don't believe you own that triangle of land. I know the city owns half of it. It hasn't been sold yet. So you're going to have to get permission. You're going to have to buy the property and then get permission from DOT to connect.
Listen, excuse me, there's no connection to 98.
No.
I don't know what you're looking at or where that's coming from. There's
Okay,
no
so you're
connection to
not
98.
planning to connect to 98. All right, thank you.
All of the circulation shown here around the shopping center, that's all existing circulation. There's no,
Okay, the report that I read it as it was a direct connection to 98. Okay, so that's not true, but still, how do you propose to keep the shopping center functional when it's split by a busy 2-lane road? You've got half of it here and half of it here. I don't comprehend that.
Anyone else?
Gary Cox, I'm referring back to Parker Park. We've got this property behind it, it's tying into the city property. If you brought that road up through the city property over to Jones Road, that bridge right there at the park, why not turn it into a wooden structure, just suitable for golf carts and pedestrians to walk across? That way they have access there. You cut down all this major traffic coming through there. If you go back through the backside, they got property there that the city owns that gets you over to Jones or Joe Road and bring that on 50.
There's no connection, Mr. Cox, in ownership of property. We don't own property that connects to Joe Road.
We have a split between, say, the property, that 25 acres that we have, and the Sweetwater. There's a split. St. Joe still owns a
It's
spot.
like a 50 foot right.
It's a right of way.
Well, like I say, the proposition St. Joe, to see if you can probably get in. But to eliminate that, that's going to be a major problem out there at that park. I mean, to me, that wooden structure coming across would be a lot cheaper, be more usable for golf carts, pedestrians to walk across, be able to get to the beach, be able to get to the park, but cut across that backside. That's something to think about. I just want to bring it up because I'm thinking of the safety, aesthetics. I mean, this looks great, but it's not user-friendly for people when you do have a possibility of another access point. So I'd like you guys to take a look into that.
Mr. Mayor, you're correct. We do not have any Joe Road. We don't own Joe Road. The connection that goes back there to the 25 acres, we do not, the city does not own that.
I understand, that's what I was just clarifying, I understand what you're saying, but I think there's been some dialogue, and there's I think there's a significant wetland on that lower corner.
Our property.
Now, like that one bridge right there, you put in one that's DOT compliant, you're gonna spend major bucks. You put in a wood structure that's for golf carts and walking traffic, you save a bunch of money. That money there could be put towards putting a road in. Something to think about.
Appreciate it.
Because I've been in construction 45 plus years.
Is there anyone else?
Bridge ain't cheap.
No, sir.
Yes, sir, what you got?
Hi, my name's Gary Piedmont. I'm actually going to be a new resident on 29th Street. I'm a civil site development engineer, so I've got some technical questions for you guys. I don't expect you to answer them on the spot. But, so, in Peter, correct me, I'm trying to read this off the plan, scaling mentally. Are the rights of way for 30th, 31st, and 29th all the same?
50 feet.
Okay, so, again, you have to answer this in the spot. So, why wouldn't 30th be a two-way, and then you wouldn't have the need for the access from 29? And again, don't expect to answer the spot. Take this for discussion purposes. You were talking about restricting it for residential only traffic. Okay, how are you gonna do that? I mean, I've done that work. Unless you put some sort of, something physical to make it untenable for large traffic flows or commercial vehicles or something like that, that's gonna be, sign people ignore them all the time, including ones that no outlets and things like, right? Okay. Have you done the ADT counts or plan counts, not counts, but the plan?
A traffic study has been done. It was based on a slightly different configuration, so it needs to be updated with these connections. But the counts were done last summer, and the study will be updated.
Yeah, because I'm curious if the ADT would be on 29, because right now it's like 8 DSP down there. So that's kind of important, because since part of that's residential, kids can be playing, so if you've got that going on through there, it's a little bit tricky. Let's see.
I will say on 30th Street, it is an awkward street. I mean, it's one way at 98.
Right.
It switches to two-way once you pass the hardware store and get to the alleyway.
Yeah,
Our thought was make it entrance only, our primary commercial entrance, to prevent the patrons and residents from coming out and having to make that sharp turn down the alleyway, or even bypass the stop sign altogether and go the wrong way.
Yeah, I was just getting, just stuff to take into account, but if the right of way is the same, couldn't you have 30 converted to two-way all the way to the NBA?
Well, that's not our call, so
Okay.
What about
There's
the,
a reason.
what about the staff?
Okay.
No, excuse me. There's a,
I'm more interested in what you were saying earlier about that 29th, is how we're going to do that. How we're going to put traffic calming measures in there to make sure that it is indeed a residential road. That's very interesting to me, to how that's going to be managed. It's going to be managed somehow, because you're right, a sign
Yeah.
by someone, but there's other things we can do to
Yeah,
make
the
that happen.
typical, what I've always done is, large, but we usually do disguise in pedestrian crossings, but large to slow you down, because if you put rumbles, for example, all it does is a noise.
It's just a noise.
How, have you looked at, construction access, and how's that gonna get into the site? And will the site development work? Has that been worked out?
yeah, probably 30th Street. Yeah,
So we're going
we haven't gotten that far. But yeah, most likely 30.
Okay, all right, let's see. Yeah, so those are the questions I have, and again, I'm just.
Good question.
Get them
Appreciate
discussed
it.
at some point. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just one thing, like he said about the commercial, because I've been even told by the city manager that putting a sign up that says commercial is not even legal. They don't have to pay attention to it, and that's quite apparent on Fifth Street. The last time we had a guy that was intoxicated came in here and made all kinds of promises if we would do him a favor, right? The city did him a favor, and guess what? He did not keep his word, not once. As a matter of fact, he's making it worse. So, you can't live on promises, that's a fact.
All right, next. Yes, ma'am.
Question for you. On 26th Street, there used to be a fence all along that obviously was taken down by Hurricane Michael. Is there a proposal to rebuild that fence alongside where the residential homes? Well, there's only
I can answer
2
that.
right now, but there'll be more.
On 26?
26.
Between Parker Park and 26th
Right,
Avenue.
Yeah.
right by Parker
Yeah, you
Park.
yeah.
Yes, ma'am, that's, the FEMA is replacing that. We have that in our scope to put a fence line all the way down that side of the road to replace that, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Others? Yes, sir.
Just a very insignificant one, but important to me. I thought I had heard it mentioned that our runoff water back out into the Gulf is going to increase. And I understood that at some point, that water that runs off into the Gulf was going to be stopped so that our water doesn't get so dirty down through there and make it so unpleasant.
Well, that's a totally separate
It-
project, but to answer it right quick, that after the storm, we got some grant money to look in to try to close the 8th Street Canal and run it to the 80 acres.
We are still gonna try to.
We are still, yes ma'am, we certainly are.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
if I could, real quick.
Please.
The gentleman brought up also staining canal water going into the Gulf. Our project's gonna have seawalls all the way around it. You'll actually have less sloughing of the banks and less solids getting in the water once the project's built. So I just wanted to clarify that. Whole way.
Well, the whole way, that's an open question to property.
Where our property is, sir. That's what
Their
I'm concerned
property,
about.
Others? Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'm, like everyone, concerned about street traffic, but as a boater who lives here full-time, I'm super concerned about the boat traffic in the canal, and you made a statement, and I'd like some clarification. We don't take ownership of the canal. Who's responsible for managing canal traffic? Because right now, we have people talking about 40-foot boats, and my boat's not about half that size, and when you get the kind of traffic we have during snapper season going in and out, and with another 100 odd boats.
Hopefully boaters will use etiquette on the water.
Well, we hope so, but when
But I mean,
you
that's
go
all
on-
we can do I guess if there got to be a problem, we'd have to put a police boat, I guess, I don't know.
Well,
Answer
no, seriously, I'm not being adversarial.
I understand.
Who is responsible for ownership of, police?
Well, the ownership of the canal, as we know the canal now, is totally 100% the city.
Okay.
This project and what you see as the canal now will be under the HOA.
Understood. As
And
far as
their
maintaining
maintenance and their seawall repairs and their, that will be, the city will have no ownership.
And we will have no authority to, as far as managing the boat traffic. That's my
Sure,
question.
we could do that now. If there was a need now, we could help police and the existing canal.
Gotcha.
Wait, so this canal will not be turned over to the city at any point?
No, it will not be the city's.
I assume it'd be like the
Currently
rest.
belongs to the city?
Same with the.
I didn't hear the question.
Does it currently belong to the city?
The canal.
This canal?
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Is that entirely a new canal? I mean, does it connect to our canals?
Oh,
on
yes.
both ends?
It connects to our canal, but it's not on our property. It's not on city-owned property. It's on
Okay.
private property, and the developers and the HOA eventually will be responsible for the maintenance of it, the construction of it, the dredging of it, the whatever is required.
And where does it connect on the lower end by Parker Park? Does it connect?
No, it connects to nothing other than it just dies out.
Oh, it dies there?
It dies out on the, far east end, correct? Is that how you say that? Dies out?
Well, it weekly trickles back here.
Yeah.
And all that.
I saw another hand.
Oh,
Yeah, right here.
Oh, I was just saying, 30 years ago, when I moved to Mexico Beach, I was told that I owned half of the canal, because before the canal was there, it was my property. But then I said, maybe I'm gonna charge a toll for the boats coming down my canal, and that, of course, they don't let me do that. So now, you know, if nobody owns the canal anymore, I don't own half that canal.
Well, you may, your land deed may show that that it extends out into that water.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, and we paid for dredging along our dock and so forth, and you know, and who was responsible then, Al, to dredge the middle of the canal?
City.
But not this one.
I just,
Not that one,
Yeah.
but what, it's your house, the city is responsible, and that's, after Michael, that's why we got in there and got it cleaned out.
I have no problem with that, any of that.
That,
I
that
just
canal
thought that was
doesn't
interesting.
reach the Gulf though.
Yes.
That canal does go to the Gulf on the western edge, so it doesn't die off at Barker Park. It connects to the 8th Street Canal.
Yeah, just turn.
It's so, no, sir, it does not. It is dammed off, it has been filled in, there is no water flow from this canal, there is no water flow that gets to the 8th Street Canal.
It dies back here, doesn't it?
And then up back behind there.
It's been blocked off for years.
Yeah, the map looks like it shows it goes on.
It may show it, but there's no water flow. I guess on the flood, on Michael, yes, it may push it through, but it is not connected on the eastern end. I saw, yeah, there we go. Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, that's okay.
So once you guys get the site development done, are you gonna be selling the lots for individuals to build versus, okay, so it's not gonna be like you or Horton, where you're doing massive construction houses?
That's not our.
That's
my question too, but I wasn't gonna ask.
Is the lot size still, are they still 70 feet for the most part?
Most of the lots are 70, there are some townhouse
Right, I
lots
saw the
on the
townhouse
east side, and then
ones,
we've
yeah.
got some narrow lots on that far southeast corner.
Okay.
Most of them are 70.
70, okay, so keep it kind of the same. Okay, thank you.
And the zoning is complete for that area? So
Oh,
the
yes,
property,
sir.
the lot size?
That's been done for a number of years.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Gary.
I'm sorry. Before we leave, can we get y'all to commit to widening 36th Street, to putting sidewalks in there, and if needed, put up it's gonna have to take, I'm losing, getting over enough, getting the term I'm trying to say. It's gonna have to require a red light right there. And I'd like to hear y'all commit to doing that before this project, goes on, because if you don't, we're gonna be stuck over where I live with no access to anything, because we're gonna be blocked in there with traffic. I'm serious when I say that, gentlemen.
Gary, let me make just a comment about that.
Yes, sir.
Any type of monitoring of Highway 98 doesn't come from us. Us meaning this
Yes, sir.
city or this council. And you're aware of the
Yes, sir.
requirements that DOT would make that determination. And they're not gonna do that until there is reason, they're not gonna do it on speculation. Okay, I mean, they may, and you may prove to be exactly right, but that's something, just like it was mentioned earlier about the turn lanes on the new end of town, we'll call it, on the west end. You'll notice they are putting some in up on the, not at the Sun Stop, but they are putting some in for the apartments and also for the boat ramp road. But that comes from actual determined growth under construction, and is, I guess you could say, you can see it with your eyes, so to speak. That's the way they operate.
I'm just afraid we're gonna have a project put in there, and it's gonna landlock us that live in there and create a problem for us. And I'm not opposed, like I said, to these gentlemen developing the place. I think it's a good idea, but don't leave us, the city, holding the bag as to having to do all this stuff. Once y'all get established, get your money and leave, we're still stuck with a little bitty. This city was developed as a little mom and pop fishing village, and the roads were done that way with no nobody gave any thought about the future infrastructure that was gonna be. So, that's what I'm saying right now. Don't believe us, and when I say us, I'm talking about this council, everybody in this room, holding the bag, and y'all go back to Atlanta with your pockets full, and nothing's been done like you said. That's all I'm saying.
I would like to say that we'll commit to you, there's been a lot of concern about walking on 36th Street, a place
Yes,
to
sir.
walk. And we're willing to eat it, and we've talked to the city about it, and we're more than prepared, and we'll promise you right now that we'll put in a sidewalk.
Okay.
And that way, so you have free walking, and it'll be able to walk and tie you all the way into 98.
Yes, ma'am, in the back.
I have concerns about the statement that the proposed Parker Park Street was suggested by the city. My definition of the city are the residents of the city, whereas you seem to define the city as a city official. If a city official proposed that, then it was proposed by the city. But the group of people here who live here, the residents, are the city. They work for us.
Okay? Yes?
I'd like to hear more about the design where 36 comes into alleyways there. The information that was published on the city's website talked about in order to create the traffic pattern, everything's going to have to be changed and it's going to have to flow differently and streets were going to be changed. So tell us more about 31st and the alleyways that come off of it and how all of that works in terms of what it's going to take, tearing up what?
Is this the old map from?
This is the current
But
display.
she-
What she's talking about is an old presentation that
Yeah,
had,
That's the one from
That
last
was-
week.
they're not making it, yeah, the one that got pulled from the agenda.
So the
2
one
weeks
from
ago.
last week that was on the website is not viable.
Yeah, 29th wasn't on that one.
We pulled that from the agenda. This is the proposal right here. They're not touching anything inside the business center for changing of direction.
Okay?
All right, anything else? Yes, ma'am. Or who, yeah, you,
So, I have concerns about Parker Park. Nobody has really, you kind of addressed it, but it's historic to Mexico Beach. I think we need to keep it that way, and I think that we already own Parker Park. Why are we giving it up when, I think we have 4 parks in the city. If we give up parkland, we don't ever get it back. We won't ever get parkland back in the location that it's sitting in. We'll never get it back because there is no more space to build a park with that location. So I think we need to be really careful about just willy-nilly giving up Parker Park. With that being said, like, everybody's proposing that we fill it in. Okay, great. I'm okay with filling it in. But we also just acquired that little island over there on a lease 2 days ago because we need additional parking for Parker Park. It's already proven to be highly popular for the Gumbo Fest, for music in the park. It is a highly valuable piece of land, and I think if we give it up, we're gonna be really sorry because you can't ever get it back. If we're filling in part of the canal there, why don't we look at filling in the leg part of it and have that be the access point so we can serve the actual park itself? My thought.
okay. Let me ask you, just for my clarification. First of all, we're not giving up the park. We're granting it access through that road, but we are giving up a park.
But if you give up the entrance to that park, there are 177 homes that feed into that. And so
No,
we're
ma'am.
looking
No,
at
ma'am.
3,
There's not 177 homes.
how many is
There's
it?
75 lots on the north side of the canal that have access to that road, 75, not 177. So, I mean, I just wanna make sure you,
But now, why are you saying just the north side? So the other people don't have access to that?
The south side doesn't access that road.
the
It's
south
only the
side
north
doesn't
side.
access that road. They can't. So there's 77, 75 lots. Even with my glasses, I believe it's 75.
78.
So there's 78, okay, 78 lots on the north side that have access to Parker Park Road and 36th Street.
Okay,
Okay, not 177.
so then you're still looking at, what would that be? 150 cars in and out of there? That's a lot of traffic. And it's gonna take one kid, it's gonna take one child getting hit by a car before you guys sit back and go, maybe we shouldn't have made this the entrance into a new development.
Okay. All right, we're still going. One more, what you got?
All right. I know you're
Hey,
filling
hey,
the
please.
canal. Is there a way to make golf cart parking? I think that would help alleviate some of this traffic and parking that we've had already problems with in Parker Park. And there's gonna be more and more golf carts that are coming, especially when they sell all those homes up there. And that might alleviate some of that problem that we're talking about right now. I don't know where you would do it. I know you're filling in the canal. It's a thought. A golf cart, parking area is not that big. Thought.
Yes, thank you. Somebody, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I mean, a big concern about the Parker Park area that I haven't heard really anybody address is where is all the parking for our festivals that we have gonna be? I mean, just like our gumbo that we just had, I mean, there was no parking really. And what there was already full. We were out in the streets. Is there gonna be parking on both sides of this parkway?
No, there won't be, there's no
Okay.
proposed parking along that street.
Right, well, I mean, that park, like many have said, is essential to our city and to, give us the space to have our events, our gatherings, tree lighting, the traffic there, that's my concern is where's the parking gonna be?
It's gonna be like it was for the Gumbo Festival. We had some parking in the back of the, I totally agree with you that it is limited in the back end of the existing park.
Yeah.
But that property will still be there.
But I mean, the parking that flowed out onto 98, is that
Right,
okay? I mean, that's, we're just
It is for the 3 or 4 hours that we have an event. I mean, that's what we do, unfortunately. We don't have a, quote, place in town to do that.
We just added that municipal parking lot next door on Dr. Spiller's property for overflow parking.
Yeah, we were able to lease that, so
yeah.
that,
That's a big concern, is that parkway or that, road being for the entrance for the park, and for the homes, I have no problem with this community coming in. But it's just the
yes, ma'am, parking without question is a valid concern and it's something that during the
And the
events.
traffic.
During the events, no matter when we had them at Sunset Park, right on 98, we were concerned about that. Equally as well as we're concerned at the Gumbo Festival, that turnout was amazing, and you're right. You're right.
a lot
And
of
we just,
traffic.
yep.
And it's just gonna grow over the years.
Yes, sir.
Hi there, quick question, on North 29th Street where the curve is, where it says proposed open space. What is that?
That's your property, right?
Good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. It could be commercial property, it could be a small park. Once again, I know parks are an important thing for the city of Mexico Beach. Yeah, we just decided internal park.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you guys.
It'd just be a small landscape area.
Understood, okay, thank you.
Yeah. You know, and if I could,
Go ahead. Sure.
if I could just say one thing, I worry about traffic too. And I don't wanna be that developer from Atlanta that says, well, in Atlanta, we do it this way. I'm not that guy, okay, please, hear me out. But the metro Atlanta area has grown exponentially for the past 40, 50 years. And with that, they understand traffic flow. Most municipalities understand traffic flow for subdivisions. And most, I'm not gonna say all, most municipalities, correct me if I'm wrong, Richard, 99 or 100 cars, or excuse me, 99 or 100 single-family lots per entrance for a subdivision. And as you go by subdivisions in the Atlanta metro area, once again, I'm not saying, just bear with me on this, okay? Cars aren't backed up 20 cars to get out of this subdivision. Cars, they flow and ebb and flow at different times. Here, people are not gonna be going to work. There's not gonna be a 6:45 rush to get out of Sweetwater development to go to work. It's not gonna happen. These are gonna be second homes, that they'll eventually probably primary homes. People that buy a second home, 20, 30 years from now, they may live here full time. But it's not gonna be everybody's dumping out at the same time. I understand the concern about Parker Park Road and the traffic flow there. It's not gonna be, Macy's parking lot 2 days before Christmas. It's not gonna be that way. Now, will there be traffic? Sure, there's gonna be some traffic. But it'll be regulated to whatever the city regulations are, 10, 15 miles an hour. And there'll be provisions put up on Parker Park Road from the park itself to keep people from running out into the street. Because one of the ladies brought up children running out in the street, and that's a concern of ours. And when Parker Park first came up, we had to create some type of barrier, be it a fence, be it a super thick hedgerow, whatever it is, to keep kids from running out in the street. We don't want that. We don't want anybody to get hurt. I'm gonna live at the end of 28th Street. I'm getting that a lot. I'm gonna be a neighbor. I want this to be good for all of us. But please understand that it does look scary with this many lots, but everybody's not leaving at the same time.
And one of the comments that was made regarding the festival, because that road has 2 access points on the days of your festival, you can just close it. It's a public road. Close it at the bridge and make all the residents who live in there go the other way during those festivals. And go if they have to.
Or just the few hours.
Yeah, during the festival. You do not do this.
Why didn't I think of it? Yes, sir, right here in the back. Or who, okay.
Sorry, me again. You said something about posted speed limit 10 to...
Whatever it is.
Well, yeah, I guess that's the question I got, is what's the posted speed limit going to be?
Interior roads are 20 miles an hour.
As I say, either 20 or 25.
Yeah.
I'd like the council just to tell us though, what is the advantage of using the Parker Park entrance to this? I mean, what is the advantage to the city and the citizens? I mean, we know what the advantage is for the builder, but really, what is it for the city? I mean,
I don't get, to me, it's obvious that you need, it gives another exit. You're gonna dump everything. Without another exit, you're gonna put 77 lots going out one street this way. It breaks it up. It makes it, doesn't overload 36th Street.
they said they could go in on other streets besides Parker.
36th Street. Need to follow the map. Make sure you understand.
Well, but if they go in on 30th Street, right?
You can't get.
Oh, you can't get in there.
You can't get in there.
But you can go in on 28th Street.
No, you can't get in there.
Why can't?
Oh, 28th.
Yeah.
We'd have a bridge just like
Why don't you put a bridge there?
that. Bridge.
Well,
That's still.
I think that traffic flow the 28th Street, that property right there is minimal.
Right. Well, I understand that these lots over here, like I said, those are gonna be kind of, you know, the cheap end of the place if they don't go through Parker Park.
Okay. We can, I think we've looked at that. Refresh my memory. This guy's over here outside of 28th Street. If I remember right, that property, is there a property issue there?
The problem with 28th Street is it's so narrow. And if you wanted to go ahead and have an opportunity to improve the driveway going into Parker Park, because Parker Park is limited because of the head wall where the canal runs from east to west. It's very narrow. This gives an opportunity to make a wider entrance, make a wider street for Parker Park, make a sidewalk where you can walk into Parker Park from 98, fill in the canal, which greatly increases the volume of Parker Park. We saw this, everybody's concerned about Parker Park and losing it. You're gaining, you're gaining acreage, and we saw it as a plus for the community. If we miss something, we miss something.
How much fill-in are we talking about in Parker Park?
Pull that up,
Whole
please.
front,
Whole front, pretty much whole front, yes, sir.
Comes down.
We're tying it into our Army Corps of Engineers permit, and we're getting, with our Corps permit, to increase the width and depth, maintenance depth of the canal. The Corps is gonna let us do this too as part of that permit.
so the whole part of the park will be connected in 98, there'll be no water between the park and.
See that picture?
Yeah, right there, sir. The hash marks from 98 at the bottom of the screen up into the park is gonna be all solid, one level.
On that topic, I wrote this down a long time ago. We met with the state. Did they say, yes, that's gonna work? Because Jerry Wallace has had this dream since, I think, 7 years ago of filling in the moat, so.
The state and the Corps both see the advantage of it.
Okay. I was gonna say, if you have an idea, but.
It's $1 million worth of fill. Doesn't meet water quality standards, they have no. We still have to permit it, we still have to go through all those steps to permit it.
So it's not a yes, but it's a
Do y'all have
proceed.
permits in hand for that?
No. Okay.
I have one
Yes, ma'am.
question that might also be helpful. My understanding at one point was with the future municipal center, that roadway from Parker Park was going to be the access for that. Is that correct?
No, ma'am.
22nd Street.
No, ma'am. 22nd Street will and Joe Road will.
Could be the road that you drove
the
in.
Methodist Church.
Right here, that you came in on.
Oh, okay. So
Just come beside this building, we'll go across the little ditch thing
I thought it
here.
might help if that was.
Okay. All right. Yes, sir.
Is there a possibility of filling in the canal to 26th Street? Then you won't have to build a bridge. Just build a road over
And your park's even bigger.
the park's
all the way
bigger,
around.
which everybody will love. 6th Street your plan.
All the way around the back of the park.
All the way around.
Right there.
Yeah, there you go.
Come across.
Right there.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that wetland's got a drain somewhere, and there's a ditch line.
This one here?
That one, and there's a ditch line immediately north of the canal, of Parker Park. It's right where the little
Isn't
cursor
this the
hand.
8th Street
Where,
canal?
see where the cursor hand is?
Now, that's not the 8th Street Canal.
No,
Where's this one go?
It goes in behind the El Governor Campground.
Okay.
Okay.
Under 15th Street all around, yeah.
The wetlands drain that direction, so we would cause a lot more problems. But it's good talk.
All right, others? Yes, ma'am.
You got all those cars that are coming out of there, and they're all gonna have slips on the water for boats.
Well, they'll have canal access, whether or not they have a slip, I can't speak to that, but they'll have,
So we're gonna have cars and boats coming in and out of Parker Park, not just cars. We're gonna have lots.
One of the reasons the lots were made as wide as they are was to allow for trailer parking on the lot.
Okay, but they gotta get out of there to launch their boats.
So we have 2 private boat ramps within the development.
but you said it wasn't accessible. You were talking about closing the road during events. And you just said that they wouldn't be able to access it from the other side. How are they gonna get out of the subdivision when there's events?
36th Street.
36th Street.
I got a question.
Well, wait, did we answer your question? I mean,
Not really.
well, what is your question? Help us understand, because I'm confused.
I just don't understand how, if they're gonna.
Let's try to get it where we do. Help them, maybe.
Go ahead.
There's a ramp right here, private.
Okay.
There's a ramp right here. If we close this, they can still get up here.
Okay, but does that access the entire place, or is that just?
It's just the north side.
Okay.
The other sides are all these three streets, access all that.
Okay,
That's-
and that answers that.
Yeah, I was kept missing this ramp, so I was following you, but
Yeah.
it's this ramp too. This is the big one in trailer parking. the other side.
So they'll be able to launch without having to come in and out of the
Correct.
park without, okay, that makes sense.
Thank you.
More sense.
Just a second.
Will they have access, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I want to ask you, you just said that you were going to use Joe roadway. Is that correct?
Joe Road for the government complex.
Your complex and then, but that road is down just a little bit, right? Put that map back up there. Where your property, there's your property.
Get up and draw again if you need.
And then you have to go down a little bit to get to the other one. And that's St. Joe's property.
I don't know, I need a pointer or something. Help me, there you go. There you go.
He's on this side,
That's your pointer.
I know where she's going because this is the notes I got written down myself.
Oh,
So Joe Drive comes in right here,
Right,
and you're talking it's gonna have to go to City Hall, which is gonna be here.
right. How's
So-
City Hall gonna get to that?
22nd Street, right here.
22nd Street in and then out over here.
Well, if you can use that there, why can't we use that as an exit coming out of this development?
There's an easement here. So I've been down this path, and that's a lot of my notes I've written. This development I'm not worried about, but the only way we can grow is north. So what's going to happen when we grow north is we're going to have access. So I had talked to Doug a while back about, let's close Parker Park, let's bring that road through, tie into Joe Drive all the way around. But there's this piece of property here we don't own there.
Well, who owns that little?
St.
St.
St. Joe kept it.
Well, you don't think they could negotiate with them? That doesn't look like it's very big.
They lopped off that corner, man.
Yeah.
And they don't like him, so let's get somebody to negotiate.
Say they don't like me, everybody likes me. Yeah, they lopped off Joe Drive from us. That corner there.
Joe Drive to get to it.
Yeah, and going off of that, you know, we talked about 75 lots. So I'm more curious about traffic study of how much traffic is going to be on 36 in Parker Park. Because I'm trying to think of somebody who's 75 lots, and Casuna comes to brain. There's 73 lots, so that's a similar traffic pattern. I don't have a traffic problem at Casuna. So again, this project I'm not concerned, but future growth, Parker Park's going to get busy.
Yeah, that's.
I think future growth is gonna have to be,
Consider.
yeah, seriously considered. I mean,
2025 back in
we never were up there.
Well,
And now all of a sudden you're talking about more development further north and accessing Joe
No,
Drive.
he's talking about.
I'm talking about.
Not me. I will clarify that.
My caveat to that is the only way the city can expand is north. That's why my view,
Well, let's not say.
30 to 50 years from now, north.
Zone for that? Nobody in this room would be.
Sorry.
All right, who's next?
Is it
There we go, let's bring it, reel it in. What you got?
where you're talking about St. Joe kind of having a landlocked right in there that they won't sell or whatever, is there any way that you or the council would negotiate since they don't like the developer? No, I mean, seriously, I mean, is
They like me.
by using that
They're not ready
space,
to
it would be so
negotiate.
much better.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be so much better, so.
Because everybody who's called me, I will tell you, I tell you every time, if you don't want it there, where do you want it? And that's the only other option I can find that's even
They're not even
remotely.
giving us Joe Road yet.
Yeah.
You think, Joe, they would negotiate?
We're not in a position at this point to, this is my personal feeling, we're not in a position to negotiate with them. They gave us the 25 acres, and even with that, the stipulation is they want to see the city They want to see the need. And that's the way they operate. And I'm not trying to stand up for them, but when they gave us that easement is a protection, in my opinion, that when you develop that and it becomes what you tell us that you're going to use it for, then we may have a reason to go to them and say, look, here's what's happening to us. But I don't think that's reasonable today to do that. Yes, ma'am.
DOT can leverage that. And the study we haven't done yet.
Yes, ma'am, what you have?
Yeah. Okay, first off, I want to say that I've heard good things, that y'all are coming here because y'all really want to work with us, and I appreciate that. You had mentioned that there subdivisions that had like 99 houses in them or something.
Just
they
as a
had
point of reference.
one exit,
Yes,
an
ma'am.
entrance. Why can we not just leave these 78, 9 houses with the one entrance and exit on 36 instead of going through the park?
Well, once again, the desire is to spread it out, it's,
That's your desire. Whose desire?
Gary's gonna get stressed if we put it all there.
That's your desire. But we don't deserve that, or we would not accept it.
I'll tell you what, if you ask these people at the front if they want it all dumped on 36th Street, then you might get a different answer.
It's exactly the
He
point,
said that
Mayor.
there's not gonna be that much traffic.
Well, Mayor, the mayor's point is spot on. Because what Frank said is that is common. It's not optimal. When we're developing subdivisions outside of in other jurisdictions, if we can create multiple points, we will.
I think fire and police would be mad too.
And that's where I was gonna go next. The next item we come up with is something that is very important to everybody in the city, whether they're residents or staff, is how to get safety and those other services there. Having 2 access points is extremely important.
On 36th Street, you coming out of that, and you gotta turn left to go across the bridge and come out to 98. Do we have access to turn right and go by the boat ramp and come out on 98 up there?
It's a good question.
I mean, it's a lot closer. You can dump a lot of traffic that direction if Joe will let you.
Well, I totally agree that could be at some point, something that we have to look at. But right now, I don't think there's any reason to use, that boat ramp access that St. Joe put in there was not to be a, quote, permanent method of running traffic through the boat ramp. And
I just sit there and I look, you only have a few times a year, there's a lot of traffic in it. Is it gonna be sitting there all the
That's
time?
right. I'm going to
Mayor,
agree.
can I comment on this, please?
No, I'm just trying to answer, that's all that, that was not to be, it was just a temporary road, that's why there's a gate up there, and we use it strictly for, like what's happening now, till they get the boat ramp road, but it's not designed.
Well, it was just a viable thought.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's a lot closer that way, and it's.
I don't know, Gary, if you need to comment or not, but if you want to, go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to comment real quickly. Like, I was on the council when all this took place at one time. What happened was, the state of Florida has to give an individual property where it's being driven on the same egress and ingress possibilities it had. So they built this road. The city asked St. Joe if that road could be continued on over, egress and ingress while the bridge was being built. All right, well, after it got through, they were going to tear up the road. The city went to them and asked them, could we please keep that road in the event of an emergency? The state of Florida told this city, you can keep the road, but it can only be used for emergency use, egress, ingress for my community, because we have no other way to get out of this city in the event something happens. And as far as people thinking there's not a lot of traffic, folks, I bet you, right now they've closed it. But when they opened it, it was unreal, all the traffic coming through there. And it's just, it would destroy our communities, what you're gonna do on 36th Street. It won't hurt me on 38th. All those other lots, people coming in there and kids playing, that's a small street, and you're asking for nothing but problems by even addressing it.
All right, next. Yes, ma'am.
So I think that brings up a really good point about forward thinking. We have got, so you guys have never been faced with forward thinking because we've never grown before. We've always just been this city. And now that we're growing north, we really have to be aware of what we do now because it's going to affect us. And that's where a city planner comes in and says, you know, we really shouldn't do this, we should do this, because they're able to forward think. So if we let go of things now, as we progress forward, we're gonna look back and go, man, that was a silly mistake, we should have done this. So what Adrian says is, I think we really have to be aware of that and just not go, well, we need it, so let's just ramrod it through and do it, because this is what we need right now. I think we really need to think about the future growth of this city, and it's gonna happen. Development is going to happen, and it's gonna happen up north. So we better start looking at things up north so that we're able to prepare for this properly. And like Gary said, so that we don't destroy the citizens that are already here.
Great. Next. There's no others, we're gonna move, go ahead. Yes, sir.
I can stand up here, I don't have my glasses, so it's hard for me to read this.
Okay.
Now, where this dumps out, 31st, this is where hardware store is, right?
30th. I mean, I'm on the corner of 30th.
Right, hardware store, fish house.
Yep. Right.
Beach walk.
Mangoes.
This is coming out here. Where are these people coming
You're gonna have
out
to stop, you gotta stop there and take a right,
So you're gonna
there, yep.
funnel them that way, one way?
Yeah, one way. Just the way it is now.
There you go. Right there it is.
It looks like right now.
The same traffic pattern as
They're not
now.
changing anything inside there.
So it's gonna be just dump.
Mm-hmm.
We can come out in the front of Mangoes, behind Mangoes.
Well, that'd be fun.
It's
It's hard now, because if you go here, you have to dump out on 98.
32nd, yeah.
429th Street.
It's important they know it's one way too.
Well, are you gonna be able to, this will be open all the way here, so you could go out this way?
You drive in circles.
What you gotta do now?
That's right.
Well, Mayor, there was a stacking question that maybe we skipped over on 30th Street. Maybe the stacking question needs to be addressed on 30th Street, with the rationale behind a one-way street coming in there. When you turn in to go left in front of the said hardware store, if you back up on the 98, you're gonna back traffic up, and somebody trying to come out, if it's a two-way road on 30th, would be sure head-on collisions there. So that's the reason behind the one-way street coming in 30th.
Because they both turn in. Got
Correct,
it.
both turn in.
And then they're over 90-degree turns.
Two-way would be great, but it's not gonna, because of that road in front of the store or in front of Mango's going that way, it doesn't work.
I was wondering the same. So
All right, any other, more questions? All right, let's maybe question. Oh,
Well, right now, you get traffic back up there right now. I sit there and watch that I watch from 27th to 30th Street from my house.
yeah, the traffic flow in the business center there are times that it absolutely.
When you have people pulling into the hardware store or something.
Yeah, it's a terrible, I mean, that one way right there trying to put somebody, when they come out the wrong way, it's a miracle we hadn't gotten somebody hit. But they
people are always going.
they don't read the signs and they don't stop at they don't do it.
And they've added a left-hand turn lane on 98, DOT left turn lane.
It's not there though, right?
That will be there, that will be there, yes, sir.
So,
Okay.
Sir, one quick question.
Yes, sir.
The two properties, the triangles, used to be a real estate agent there. Who's the owner of those?
The city owns the one on the left.
Can 31st make a left turn through that lot?
everybody
And
does.
keep it away from Mango's?
Can't,
Because you can't get through there on Saturday. Then you're gonna put both.
can't, you mean to access 98?
Yeah, have 31st come out and dump onto 98.
No, the DOT is, I mean, look how close that is to 32nd.
But see, that's what city planners would do.
But we did,
Okay, but we have looked at that, okay, believe it or not.
But
You may think we're not city planners, but we have.
maybe the the building development shouldn't happen until we figure out the traffic. Maybe we should have done that before.
Okay. Are there others? Anybody else? All right, what about, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just, kind of getting lost in all this. So you're talking about you haven't got a permit to fill in yet. What happens if you can't get the permit?
Well, that's a really good question. We have sat down with DEP. We've shown them the proposal, and they have said that this is a permittable impact. And so we've done as much due diligence as we can.
But is there a backup if you don't get the permit?
We'll have to figure that out if that happens. And we're confident, we've done a lot of due diligence that that won't happen. But if that happens, we'll have to figure it out and figure out a new plan. We own the property. So we'll have to figure out what to do with it.
Right. And so then I kind of went back and forth. We were talking about those 2 entrances and 3 entrances. Is it really 2 or is it really 3?
It's 2 on the north, 3 on the south. There's 5 total.
5 total.
That's right.
But I guess I don't understand. I'm from the Atlanta area also, so I know about the traffic. What I don't understand is you keep saying there's not going to be that much traffic at one time. Why do you need that many entrances?
As I was saying earlier, if we have opportunities to put more entrances in, we do it. We take those opportunities. And if we can do 2 entrances to access the 78 lots along the northern and eastern part of the canal, that is significantly more optimal than 1. And the fact that there are 3 entrances coming off of the south, we also have, although there is a residential component there, there's that commercial factor in there too. So whatever ends up going in that commercial area, and just to be clear, we don't have that completely, we don't have it planned out at all what will go in there. The 3 entrances, 1 being residential, 2 being commercial, is appropriate for that. So we think that this number of entrances, I think when we combine the commercial with the residential, is accurate, is according.
So you're going to be able to regulate, this entrance can only be for commercial, but this entranceway will be for residential?
That's what something as I can't remember your name, the engineer. Yeah, Mr. Piedmont pointed out, how are we going to do that comes into effect. And it's really controlling the residential side and saying, not necessarily saying this is only commercial, because I assure you there are a lot of convenient uses that are commercial that don't want anybody to say you can restrict this to only commercial and all residential has to go over there. But I think the residential side of managing that is something that we're going to have to work with our engineer on to come up with a very good plan to make that not optimal for commercial traffic.
And I know in the past, when all the preliminaries was coming up and everything else, the entrance into Parker Park was never really mentioned. Why all of a sudden do you need that entrance?
There are a couple things that, like I pointed out, if we can take 2 entrances, that's preferable. And it's not that it was all of a sudden. This was an evolution of several iterations of this plan. Although our preliminary plat was approved in 21, we started drawing this back in 18 when we put the property under contract. There was just many iterations that went through with it. And then when we got to the point of looking at those 70 lots across the top having 1 entrance, dumping onto the 38, 36 area, that's when we said, okay, maybe how do we divide the traffic so that it's not going all in one direction? And this was the solution that we found to be.
But you really just came up with the Parker Park one recently, right?
I would say about a year ago.
All right, council, what about questions from the tape? Or comments, or?
I had piles of them, and I think they interrupted everybody and went on my tirade there. The only one left is there is one positive to Parker Park, and I just want to point out that I'm not a total negative about it, and that is the golf cart access from everybody on the 36, 37, 38, 39 north side being able to get into that park. And again, I think that is part of, hate me for saying it, future planning, and making the city more of a golf cart friendly community. But other than that, we also have to look at this commercial space, because I think the bulk of our traffic is actually going to be the south side of this development, not the north side where 36 and Park are going to impact. Yeah, we seem to be focused on the north side, but I think the south side is where the traffic's going to be.
Okay? Yeah, Rich?
As far as parking, I think one day you asked about the parking, and Doug, maybe you can help me here. I believe we have a lot more parking than what we had originally. We have what we had when we had the gumbo. We have that parking. We also lease some parking that I think holds 100 cars.
Roughly, yes, sir.
Roughly 100 cars. And then if we fill in the canal, there's a possibility of more parking there, right?
Another acre, yes, sir.
So there could be a lot more parking than what we had before. Two additional.
Organized park.
Is there a possibility you could pull up this picture for a minute?
Or the other one.
Or either one, doesn't matter. The pretty one. Yeah, it looks real pretty. There are three residential lots there to the right there where we have all those trees. Then there's 2 lots, I believe, that belong to the city.
Yeah, in the back we have 2 along.
That belong to the city. The area that you show, and obviously I know it's just a picture, from the road to the grass area, that looks like probably 20 feet to that fence or so, I don't know.
Be more like 12.
12 feet. So right now it's about a foot.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility that we could just run fence all the way down there?
We are going to do that.
Think that's gonna do that.
Do you know when?
When we move forward with the FEMA project, it is just like where Carrie's fence is, the brown fence.
Right.
The fence would be just on our side of that, all the way down to before the canal.
On our property.
Yes, sir.
And the right-of-way width could support on-street parking as well if you wanted to do
Those 12-foot.
angled or parallel.
That'd be enough.
Be better than being parked on 26.
And this sand taking them out.
Golf cart. Golf cart.
That's a good place, 12 foot would be enough to put a golf cart. Coming out this 75, or at least half of it, just say 35 would go our way, and the other half would go Gary's way.
That's right.
We currently have a small little walkway that's there, and on that walkway we have a fence, a short fence area. People were talking about kids. Is it possible that we run a fence on the outside line?
I think that's whether it's a fence line, a hedge line,
Landscape buffer.
something, we'll figure that out with y'all.
Good deal.
I believe that's something that we'll need to do.
They have to all like it. And then Adrian, I feel like going on. I like it. I'm gonna get you one of them.
I need a laser pen.
Yeah, that'll work. You got what number? You ready?
No, they've been pretty good at the questions here.
Very good.
All right, well then I want to thank everyone for coming. Is there any, Frank, closing, anybody on your?
Yeah. I'd like to just say thank y'all for coming out. Made some good notes here. Appreciate your time, and of course, appreciate your time also for hosting this and organizing this for us to have this time spent with y'all. So I definitely appreciate y'all. Thank y'all.
Okay. All right, then, again, thank everyone for coming. I hope you have, yes, sir, Sean.
As far as process goes from here, can we talk about that?
Absolutely, absolutely. The process now will be, again, this is not a decision making, but you will come back with a formal presentation or a formal request of here's what we're asking. You have some time to digest whatever notes are, and so the next, again, the preliminary plat has been approved. But I think with this workshop and the work that you've done and the things that we've talked about, I think it would be appropriate for you to present for, I mean, really, the next step is a formalized development order. And it can be a site plan development order. It doesn't have to be a construction, you know, it can be a site plan development. And then that would be the right process to follow to get this table to give you direction.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay? All right, we're going to adjourn the workshop again. Thank everyone for coming.